Welcome to the NowRx webinar presentation. We're going to have a lot of Q&A today, so planning to be here till the last minute, if not extending our Q&A session a little longer. Nearing the end of the campaign, as many of you already know, so we're going to be answering as many questions as we can. We're going to start scheduling more webinars, and we're going to introduce a feature called office hours during the last week of the campaign, where we will essentially have a webinar available every day for an hour or so to do Q&A and things. So appreciate everyone's interest in NowRx. We'll, assuming there's quite a few people here that are just learning about NowRx for the first time, we do go through sort of the business overview. I apologize if that's repetitive for some folks, but you know, we have sort of a diverse group of participants typically on these webinars, and I try to address all of them at the same time. So if it's a little repetitive for some of you, I apologize for that. We are raising on Seed Invest under what's called a Regulation A offering. That's a little bit different for some of you. You call it all crowdfunding if you want, but there's a unique type of crowdfunding called equity crowdfunding. And if you hear the word equity before crowdfunding, it means something quite unique. It is an exemption created by the SEC called Regulation A that allows retail investors to invest in private companies that are not yet listed on a public stock exchange, as opposed to only accredited investors or professional investors that can invest in private companies that are not Reg A. So Reg A is kind of a new thing that was created by the Jobs Act, and there's a lot of disclosures that the SEC likes us to show. So look, we're NowRx Pharmacy. We're going after the pharmacy industry, and one of the things that we've noticed is the entire supply chain effectively has been broken. Pharmacy's been around for 100 years. There are 4 different stakeholders involved in any pharmacy, so it's really unlike any other type of consumer play. I mean, people tend to want to just put pharmacy in consumer. It's really a healthcare business. If you think about the process of getting a prescription medication, it involves a doctor who decides you're going to get a prescription, right? So it's not like you're going to order razors or paper towels from Amazon like other consumer type of products. The doctors decide that you're going to get a prescription. There's an insurance company involved, a payer. There's a pharmacist involved by law, right? And there's the patient. So in pharmacy, the patient experience, the customer experience has not been very good historically. It's pretty well known. The latest net promoter score for pharmacy is a -10. Not very good. And there's a lot of reasons why we think that is. It's much more than just because people don't have delivery. Pharmacies are broken inside. The way all of these stakeholders collaborate is one of the key components to the NowRx platform and what we've developed and the technology we've developed. So we know every patient has a bad experience in pharmacy. What about some of these other stakeholders in the supply chain? Well, physicians also have a lot of frustration with pharmacy. Oftentimes patients, they'll prescribe a medication, maybe it's a brand drug or something new, or maybe it's just a generic. The physician really has no visibility into whether or not that patient goes to a pharmacy and can get that medication. And is that medication covered by their insurance? Does the pharmacy have it in stock? Is the prescription order and the refill authorization from the physician, are those being handled well by the pharmacy? And anytime a patient has a bad experience at a pharmacy, they call the doctor. So doctors are bombarded with patients having bad experiences at the pharmacy. It's a big pain point. Your typical primary care physician spends $55,000 a year on resolving and handling calls from patients that are having bad experiences at the pharmacy. It's a huge expense item for doctors. The insurance company payers, they have a big problem with pharmacy. Patients that don't take their medication on time because they went to the pharmacy and didn't get the medication covered, or they didn't have time to get to the pharmacy, or the patient didn't stop, just didn't start taking the medication or turned it down. A lot of those instances result in bad patient health outcomes and even hospitalizations in some cases. If you don't get your antibiotic in 2 or 3 days, or you had a surgery on your knee or hip, had a hip replacement, you're not taking your blood thinner, you could end up right back in the hospital. So the industry has studied medication non-adherence and determined that about $300 billion is wasted by insurance companies every year, paying for patients to be in the hospital for one reason and one reason only: they didn't take their medication on time or they didn't pick it up from the pharmacy. So huge problem for insurance companies, making sure that the pharmacy industry is working effectively. And pharmacists themselves, not a great industry to work in. Pharmacists are, sitting behind the counter at CVS with a lot of angry patients staring at them in the face, and a lot of manual processes, counting out pills by hand, computer systems that are antiquated and incredibly inefficient. So those are the four stakeholders. NowRx has approached this problem with trying to solve all of this collaboration and inefficiencies across the entire supply chain. And the result is we've created a completely new model for pharmacy that's a full replacement of a retail pharmacy, a CVS or a Walgreens. Some people, when they hear about NowRx pharmacy delivery, they think, oh, you guys are a delivery service that just picks up a medication from CVS and brings it to the patient. That's not what NowRx is at all. We are a full replacement, a full stack pharmacy solution built from scratch to improve collaboration across all stakeholders and to create a better patient experience in a number of ways using technology and logistics. So we use our own fulfillment locations. These are NowRx facilities. We house them in commercial space, so we don't pay for retail space. It's a huge savings in our model. We house those locations with robotic dispensing and other automation tools, software that we have developed ourselves. We have our own pharmacists that work for NowRx, our own technicians. We house our own inventory, and we have our own delivery team. These are NowRx employees. We don't use gig worker drivers and delivery people. These are our employees. We can do background checks. We can track their driving. They use our delivery app that's integrated with our pharmacy management system. They use our cars. We use electric vehicles. It's a third the cost per mile compared to gas. It's good for the environment. We brand the vehicles, and it's a full experience for our patients. So in the NowRx system, the medication is under our control and our software and our technology from the moment it leaves the doctor's office to the time that medication is delivered to the patient. So prescriptions are mostly communicated electronically from patients to pharmacies, and we can accept that communication just like any other pharmacy. It goes into our pharmacy management system, the quick fill system, and then we manage that process all the way through. We do all the collaboration with all the stakeholders, and we create a vastly better pharmacy experience, including free same-day delivery. We use micro fulfillment that cuts down on the fixed overhead expenses compared to the big players. And we cut down on a lot of the service issues inside the pharmacy, problems with failure to collaborate with your physician, they forgot the refill authorization, or your inventory wasn't managed properly, or the insurance company didn't pay the medication, or had an error code and somebody didn't submit the right DWA code at a pharmacy and it caused an error at the insurance company level. And all of these friction points are addressed by our software. And that's why we really believe we have a truly differentiated experience that goes way beyond just free same-day delivery. That's part of our offering, but what happens inside the pharmacy and the way we collaborate with physician, pharmacist, payer, and patient is second to none in the industry, and we believe that's what really differentiates our offering. So the lifeblood of the whole system, or the backbone of the NowRx solution, is what we call our quick fill system. It's a full pharmacy technology management system. It's sort of like an ERP system that you would see in other businesses. It's a PMS, pharmacy management system. We built it from scratch. We've been refining it over the last 5 years, and we believe it's a leading system in the industry. We have 2 patents pending on that system. And we just won the White Coat Award for the most accurate pharmacy management system in the industry. This is an award offered by SureScripts, who runs all the electronic prescription standards in the industry. And so with NowRx Quick Fill system, we have access to over 80% of the physicians in the United States and their electronic prescription system. Now, we have micro fulfillment centers throughout California and Arizona, so we don't deliver to the entire United States yet, but we are tied into the network using our technology in up to 80% or more of all prescription traffic. So the technology that we built, we are a technology company first and foremost, and the technology is what enables a better business model in pharmacy. You need several things in pharmacy. You need same-day service. Why? Because patients are used to going down to the pharmacy and standing in line the day they get their prescription. That's the way the industry's been for 100 years. And patients have grown accustomed to that. And so there are other solutions in the pharmacy world. You can get medications delivered through the mail, and that is a good niche type of business in pharmacy for refills and other kind of simple medications. But that's not what the vast majority of the pharmacy industry runs by. The vast majority of the industry is still served at a corner store pharmacies because patients want same-day service, and it's very evident. In fact, the number of prescriptions filled by mail prescription pharmacies has gone down by 20% in the last 10 years. All right, so from 2011 to 2021, there's a 20% drop in the number of prescriptions being served by mail delivery pharmacies like Express Scripts and Caremark, and Amazon's now in the mail pharmacy business. So that's a shrinking market from a number of prescription filled basis. And so you need one thing. If you're going to compete and take over large market share in pharmacy, you've got to have same-day service. And that's what micro-fulfillment is all about. Now, to make micro-fulfillment work, you need a pharmacy management system that's been built for micro-fulfillment and has automation inside the micro-fulfillment centers to fulfill very efficiently. Today, we fill prescriptions at less than half of what the cost to fill prescription is in the rest of the industry. And I'm talking about some of the biggest companies around, CVS and Walgreens. They spend about $20 to fill a prescription, just labor costs alone. And we fill prescriptions for less than $9, $8.70. Because of the automation that we've deployed in our micro fulfillment centers, our software and our automation. And this is the only way you can honor a service level agreement with a customer and say, you know, you have a choice. You can go down to CVS and wait in line for your prescription and get it today, or you can go home and wait for a prescription to come through the mail, but you're not going to get it today. And they're not really going to be able to handle narcotics and refrigerated and new fill prescriptions and things like that. Or you have now a third choice. You can send that prescription or call your doctor and have them send that prescription to NowRx, and you'll get that prescription within 2 or 3 hours. That's what you have to honor for your patients if you're going to have, if you're going to win large market share from the big players in pharmacy. You have to have same-day service. You have to have micro-fulfillment, and that's what our quick fill system is all about. We've also improved behind the scenes our communication with physicians and a collaboration between physician and pharmacist. We have machine learning on the way we manage our inventory. We have an interface and resolve claims in an intelligent manner with insurance company plans, what we call intelligent claim adjudication. All of those processes create a far higher rate of prescription fulfillment with less hassle and less friction for patients. And we have free same-day delivery within 2 or 3 hours. And we also offer a 1-hour delivery for truly urgent medications. All of that technology is what makes this business model work. And so, you know, just more examples of how does this really translate for a patient? I mean, what does it really mean? Not only do we have same-day delivery, but we have better inventory management, right? So fewer instances of out of stock. 30% of the time, patients go to a pharmacy, they have an out of stock instance. That's a huge pain point for patients. And, you know, we do a much better job of managing that inventory. We're not in stock all the time, but we use predictive algorithms, looking at past history, looking at day of the week, looking at patterns of holidays and seasonality, and we do a much better job managing inventory. Errors from the physician. It's another area where our system excels. Oftentimes, physicians send prescriptions with conflicting information in it. Hey, here's a prescription. You should take it once a day for the next 30 days, and I'm going to write you a prescription for 60 tablets. Well, that doesn't make sense. So now in the old days in CVS and Walgreens, a pharmacist has to call that doctor, wait on hold, and try to resolve that. Well, in the quick fill system, our technicians and our system resolve that electronically with the physician wherever possible, right? So you can use software automation to cut through a lot of the back and forth and improve that collaboration. More prescriptions get filled with less hassle for the patient. I talked about it already. Insurance companies also throw off errors. If the technician inside pharmacy, and you see him behind the counter typing away, what are they typing out? Well, what they're doing is they're submitting information to insurance company plans through these fairly antiquated pharmacy management systems that have been around for decades. And we sat down and looked at all of these systems. They do a terrible job of managing those error codes and that process and that collaboration with insurance companies. So one of the things our quick fill system does is it resolves those error codes from insurance companies to say, hey, you guys submitted this information incorrectly. Here's an error code. Our system has learned over the last few years of working with pharmacists and technicians and insurance companies. We have a rules-based engine that resolves many of those error codes automatically without having a technician at CVS saying, please stand aside. I have to call your insurance company and then go on hold for an hour, or worse, they ask the patient to call the insurance company and come back in a few days when they resolved it. So all of the technology and software behind the scenes helps with this collaboration and communication with all of these stakeholders. For pharmacists, they're counting out pills. Pharmacists and their technicians are counting out pills manually. You go into a CVS, you see them out there counting out pills. We use robotic dispensing systems that are tied to our pharmacy management system. So a patient can push a button on the NowRx app and say, yeah, I'd like that refill this month. That message gets sent electronically to the local NowRx micro-fulfillment center, gets sent automatically to a dispensing robot that can sort, count, bottle, label, and cap a medication in under 30 seconds, right? So we cut down on these manual processes. That makes us more efficient. It makes that fill happen much quicker. So we can, again, honor that SLA to a patient of 2 to 3 hour delivery without delivery charge. They get the same medication they would get at CVS or Walgreens. They pay the same out-of-copay, out-of-pocket expense, but they don't have to go to a pharmacy and stand in line. So a variety of technologies built inside a pharmacy. Again, think about it like an enterprise resource system. This pharmacy management system called QuickFill manages inventory, manages communication with physicians and error resolution, manages communication with insurance companies and claim adjudication, manages communication with patient and pharmacist, and also manages all of the logistics and delivery, all of that in one system. It's a massive software undertaking. We've been developing it over years. And again, we think there's really nothing like it in the industry. We've had great results, 80% combined annual growth rate since 2016 when we launched the company. We closed out 2021 at 22 million. I think it's gonna be just under 22 million when the audit is finally finalized, which we'll be reporting in the next day or two. We're a regional company. We do delivery with our own couriers. And so we have micro fulfillment locations throughout California and Arizona. And so the way we grow the business is by adding new territories and layering those on top of our existing territories. And that's how the growth really scales up. We've just recently signed leases for micro-fulfillment centers in Denver, Colorado, Las Vegas, Nevada, Houston, Texas, and Bellevue, Washington. We are raising capital to expand nationwide. That's why we're raising money on Seed Invest. We are continuing to raise money even beyond the Seed Invest round. There'll be another fundraising round in the next 12 months in order to continue this expansion. We have a massive opportunity here. I mean, the industry is truly enormous. We've identified 50 territories across the United States that we can launch micro-fulfillment centers in that are similar to the territories in which we already operate in the Bay Area, in Orange County, LA area, and in Arizona. Each of those 50 territories that we've identified has a total addressable market of $1 billion annually. 50 territories, each one of those individual territories, each of the 50 territories has $1 billion in TAM. per territory. So multiply that by 50, that's $50 billion in addressable market, just in the high population areas that we're launching in the next couple of years. So it's an enormous industry. We scale the business by opening up more locations and more territories. That's how we ramp up. And the model has a very strong cash flow return on investment over the next 5 years. This is going to be $1 billion revenue company. We are targeting IPO in several years. And we think we have the right team assembled to manage that. I've been a software and technology guy. I also have some experience in the insurance and healthcare industry. My co-founder, Sumit, has been a technologist his whole career. He's the brains behind our quick fill pharmacy management system. He's built enterprise grade software systems his whole career, including from the banking industry and credit bureaus. So we have a data focus, we have an automation and a security focus. This is healthcare. You've got to be careful with patient data. And we have built the system to enterprise grade specs. In January, I brought in Mark Marlowe as CFO. We're very fortunate and excited about Mark joining the company. He has taken several companies from startup to IPO. Mark has taken med tech companies to the NASDAQ and had successful IPOs that have been underwritten by Goldman Sachs. And he's done it repeatedly. So great track record. We're building in financial controls in NowRx that are appropriate for a company that is planning to IPO in a few years. We may not IPO, but that's the general plan right now. We may get acquired. We may go IPO. The plan A is to go IPO. That's what we're working on. Depends on several factors: continued access to growth capital, the IPO market itself. Does that remain healthy? What's going on in the stock market and the economy at large? All of those factors come into play. I'm not going to tell anyone what day we're going to go IPO or even what year. We are targeting it in the next several years. That's as much as I can say. If I say more than that, the SEC is going to find me like they fined Elon Musk $25 million for him telling he was going to take a company public on such and such date. Again, we are a Regulation A company. We're managed and overseen by the SEC. You can see all of our financials filed publicly with the SEC. And so when you ask me questions, please keep that in mind. I'm going to keep my answers within the guidelines of what the SEC has prescribed for companies that are emerging growth companies and targeting IPO in a few years. Melissa Bostock she was our very first employee. She's a pharmacist by trade. She also has a master's degree in public health, and she is director of our pharmacy. We've raised several rounds in crowdfunding environment. Why do I use crowdfunding and not PE and VC? Because crowdfunding has been incredibly successful for NowRx, and it's helped us grow the company dramatically over the last several years. It also helps us build a national brand. We are promoting our crowdfunding round, and we promote that round, and it gets the word out about NowRx. And every new investor we get is a new evangelist for NowRx. And so we love crowdfunding. It's worked very well and served us incredibly well. Our first round in crowdfunding was our seed round, and we sold shares at $1 per share. And when you're a crowdfunding investor in a Regulation A environment, you're getting equity in the company. You're getting a share of the company. And people that invested in our seed round got shares at $1 per share. And then we raised a Series A on Seed Invest in 2018, and the share price was $2 per share. So anyone that had invested at our seed rounds saw a doubling of the value of their investment 1 year or 2 years later in the Series A round. We then raised a Series B round in 2019, and the share price was $3.45. Again, that was 3.5 times the investment value for anyone that invested at the seed round. Our Series B was $20 million with Seed Invest. It was a record at the time for Seed Invest, the largest round ever raised in Seed Invest history. If you're watching on the Seed Invest round right now, we're all watching for when we cross over 20 million. We have about 19.8 million raised as of today. Hoping to push it over 20 today, guys. And that will be a new record set for NowRx for the largest round ever raised on Seed Invest in history. So we're excited about that. The share price on the Series C that we're raising currently is $10.50. So if you were an investor that invested in our seed round and Seed Invest at $1 in 2017, you've now got more than a 10x return on your investment based on today's share price of $10.50. Talk a little about competition, and then I'll turn it over to Q&A. And again, look, I'm going to be here for as long as it takes to get through your Q&A. So if we don't get to your questions today, well, I'll try to get to all of them. We'll also post questions out on the Seed Invest forum and try to get to them. Here's the way we look at the competition, the competitive landscape. You've got all the mail delivery pharmacies, Caremark, Express Scripts. Amazon is now in that game. They're doing mail delivery, right? You can't go to Amazon Pharmacy and get a prescription today. It's 2-day delivery. That's using mail. They use UPS. UPS is mail. Everyone says, well, can they, can Amazon just replicate what you're doing? Well, let's build some micro fulfillment locations first. It's the only way you can honor an SLA of 2 to 3 hours is if you have micro fulfillment centers. You can't do it from 2 states away from a mail delivery pharmacy. So that's kind of how we look at the landscape. There's also specialty pharmacy players that don't really offer the same breadth of medications. They focus on medications like cancer medications or hepatitis. There are specialty pharmacies. Not a lot of people are familiar with the names, but Publix and other specialty pharmacies that focus in that space. There are companies like Accredo and Diplomat that kind of specialize in that area. So if you have cancer medication, you don't typically go to a CVS for that. You'll go to a specialty pharmacy. They have their own specialty niche. And those are sort of the 2 big niches in the industry, the mail delivery and the specialty. What NowRx has built is the full breadth of services that CVS and Walgreens and typical retail pharmacies offer. And that's a massive segment of the market. It's $400 billion annually. And that's the market we're going after. There is several other digital players in the space like NowRx, although very few of them have built the kind of technology we've built. So you've got companies like Capsule that are using kind of off-the-shelf pharmacy management systems that have been around for a few decades, and that's what's powering their solution. And I think you see that in their customer reviews that they haven't really modernized the pharmacy behind the scenes, and that collaboration between customer, physician, pharmacist, and payer really hasn't worked out well in existing software. So I think we have a clearly differentiated offering with our quick fill system that really blows away the competition. There's some other players like Alto and Medley Pharmacy that are focused more on that specialty side we talked about, the cancer and fertility medications and hepatitis drugs. And so we believe that we are clearly differentiated and leading the industry right now in both breadth of services in terms of the medications that we offer and quality of service and customer experience and SLA. And that's all driven because of our technology platform. Before we turn it over to Q&A, I've got to address the Amazon in the room. Why can't Amazon just replicate this and blow us out of the water? One thing I want everyone to keep in mind when you think about the pharmacy industry, if you look at Amazon and how they've been able to dominate certain segments in e-commerce, they use primarily 2 big factors. One is through their volume, they can buy more product than anybody else. And so that lets them sell it at usually a lower price than anyone else can compete with, right? That's how they get to economy of scale, and it's a barrier to entry for anyone that wants to compete with Amazon. Can't they do the same thing in pharmacy? Well, again, don't think about pharmacy like any other consumer product because it's nothing like any other consumer product. It's like a healthcare product. 95% of all pharmacy transactions go through insurance. The insurance company pays for your medication. It's the same thing as if you go to a doctor's office. No one's looking for the lowest cost doctor or asking the doctor, how much do you charge for this physical? You give them your insurance card and the insurance company pays for it. And the doctor collects from you what's called a copay. A copay is $20, $15, $30. The same thing happens in pharmacy. You don't pay for that medication ordinarily. 95% of the industry goes through insurance. So you go to the pharmacy, the medication might be $500, might be $800, might be $300, might be $50. You hand the pharmacy your card, you pay the copay. It's $15 or $20. That's what you pay. That's what the price is to you as a customer, right? And so the copays in the pharmacy industry are set by the insurance companies. And here's the key. The copay is set by Aetna or by United Health or by Cigna. And that copay is the same whether you go to NowRx Pharmacy, whether you go to Amazon Pharmacy, or whether you go to CVS, because it's set by your insurance plan. Your insurance plan tells you, here's what your copay is for a pharmaceutical. Now, there are some narrow markets where some plans will say you can only go to certain pharmacies. That's pretty rare in the industry. I've seen it, 3 or 4% of the time. The vast majority of prescriptions go through insurance, and the vast majority of insurance plans have the same copay regardless of what pharmacy you go to. So now go back to Amazon. Can Amazon buy more pharmacy product than anyone and be the low-cost provider to the customer? No, they cannot. It's a level playing field. The cost to the customer is a level playing field. This takes away Amazon's biggest lever and competitive advantage they have in everything else they do. They don't have that advantage in pharmacy. Remember that. The other thing they don't really have is in other products, Amazon they can have the biggest variety of product. If you want to buy paper towels and you go to Amazon, you got 50 different manufacturers. You can get 6 towels, 3 towels, 1 towel. Their SKU count is almost unlimited. Can a retail store that's competing with Amazon match that same kind of breadth of available product and SKU count? Not really, right? So that is an advantage Amazon has. And they started that with books, right? They just had every book that was possibly available. More SKUs than everyone gave them an advantage. Can they do the same thing in pharmacy? Not really. There's very limited ability. Why? 98% of every prescription in America that gets filled out of CVS and Walgreens, 98% come from 300 medication types. That's it. So it is not a massive inventory or big SKU count advantage. It's just not available in pharmacy. You don't get much advantage by having 400 medication types, not 300, because you're getting one little extra percent of the market. Now, we carry about 1,000 items in our pharmacies, and we do a much better job of out of stock. Why CVS and Walgreens do such a poor job managing their inventory, I don't know. I have some theories on it, mostly systems related, but there is no advantage or very little advantage for Amazon to compete on price or variety and SKU count. That's just a fact, people. Let's look at another industry that Amazon went in, groceries. A little bit different than the rest of their e-commerce business, right? A little more complex. You've got perishable goods. People like to look at their apples before they buy them. But if you remember, I remember when Amazon announced Amazon Fresh in 2007, all the analysts said, what? That's it. Groceries are over. Amazon's going to blow away all the other groceries stores and chains, and they're just going to dominate like they've dominated everything they do, right? Amazon can dominate everything they touch, right? Isn't that the narrative? Well, Amazon did groceries for about 10 years and then doubled down on groceries buying Whole Foods. Well, now we're 15 years out from their entry into groceries, right? And Amazon can dominate every industry they go into, right? What's to stop them from just blowing people away in grocery? Well, a number of things. It's pretty complex business. It's not in their sweet spot. And their market share after 15 years of doubling down in groceries, their total market share is 2.6%. So why do I think Amazon can go into pharmacy and blow everyone away in pharmacy? They can't compete on price to the same degree, nearly the same degree as they can in any other industry. They can't compete really effectively having a bigger SKU count. And there's way more complexity because you need collaboration with physicians who order the prescription, with pharmacists, and with insurance companies. It's unlike anything else they do. Do me a favor, go to trustpilot.com and look at PillPack and look at their reviews on Trustpilot, and you'll get an understanding of how hard a time Amazon's having right now in pharmacy. Their reviews are horrible. They have an 81% rate of 1-star reviews. Go to trustpilot.com, don't take my word for it, and look at PillPack Pharmacy and look at customer reviews and really read through it, because you understand that they're promising 2-day delivery and it ends up being 7 and 10 days, and they're not billing insurance companies right, and they're not coordinating with physicians properly, and all of those problems. So with that, let's turn over some questions. I have a moderator that's helping me with the Q&A. They're moderating some of the questions, so please just bear with me. I'm going to do a little bit of reading, and then we'll talk about the questions. Question number 1. Why is the campaign ending soon? It looks like we raised only half the amount. How we manage the rest? Look, our original target for this round, when we started the round back in July 2021, our target was $50 million raise. We filed with the SEC the maximum amount, which was 76 million or 75 million. We never really intended to raise anything more than 50. And again, that was back in July 2021. The valuation for the round was set in July 2021, based on our revenue at that time and our forecasts. Times have changed, right? This is 2022. We put up $2.7 million in revenue in March. That's about 800,000 more per month than we had in July when we set the valuation. And, we're not necessarily that excited about raising the full $50 million at this valuation. We're okay if we do. And a lot of the crowdfunding rounds, they don't really evolve linearly. So we don't really know exactly what we're going to end up with at the end of the day. But frankly, anything over 30 million would be fantastic for us at this current valuation. We're happy at being less than 50. If it ends up being that way, if we raise a full 50, fine. We're going to keep the campaign going to May 20, but we're going to focus on growth and driving the company even further. And future rounds we expect will be at a different valuation than where we are today, or certainly where the valuation was set in 2021 July. Number 2. I understand there are no certainties, but in general, assuming the company IPOs and is not sold, are you and Sumi planning to continue in leadership roles, or is the idea to innovate the pharmacy system and exit the pharmacy space? Look, our goal is to keep running as fast as we can. We are excited about transforming the industry. One of the most amazing things for me every day is to come in and think about just how massive this industry is. It's 500 billion actually in the latest 2022 report on pharmacy industry. It just crossed 500 billion. I mean, there's no other opportunity for an entrepreneur to go after a market that large. And there's no opportunity for an investor, frankly, either, to get into a company like this that has this much growth potential. So we're excited about IPO. We're excited about getting access to public capital through public markets. And if that opportunity is successful, we're going to keep running and going after these companies and frankly disrupting CVS and Walgreens, because I think the model's terrible as it stands. The real model for CVS and Walgreens, if you really want to know my honest opinion, is they want you captive inside their stores. They don't care if you're waiting in line. They're hoping that you're going to buy a bunch of other stuff while you're there. They're hoping you're going to buy pretzels and potato chips and beauty supplies and vitamins and back to school supplies and tennis balls. And, those guys are getting killed now by Amazon on the front of the store. They're getting killed by NowRx on the back of the store, the pharmacy. And that model's got to break, and it's starting to break. You look at CVS now, recently shut down 900 stores. That was almost 10% of their entire stores. And what you see now is when they shut down a store, they move those existing customers to local CVS stores in the area. Well, guess what happens to those pharmacy teams that now have that much more business to take on and more customers? You usually see lines around the block. I've literally seen lines around the block when this has happened, when they shut down a store in the area and the other local stores have to pick up the slack. So now you've got companies or stores at CVS that are getting worse and worse service because they just took on more customers than they can handle. Service was already bad. Now that store loses customers too, because customers just can't stand it. And they're moving to looking for more and more opportunities and other options to get their prescriptions filled. And then CVS has to shut down those stores and transfer the existing customers, the remaining customers, to local stores, and it's a rinse and repeat. So it's going to be fun to watch this disruption unfurl as we go. But yeah, I plan on seeing it to fruition. Thank you for the question. Number 3, congratulations on the fundraise. I'm excited to see the revenue spike. Can you provide color on what contributed to large increase in the first quarter? Can you attribute this to 1 or 2 factors? Was 22% quarter over quarter a one-time blip, or is this a new trend? Look, we've been growing 80% combined annual growth rate since inception. That's about 20% a quarter. First quarter was not a blip. It was a nice, healthy quarter. We're very excited about it. As we layer on more territories, we do expect that to accelerate, right? If I grow 20% quarter over quarter with 1 territory in the Bay Area, and then I add 3 more territories in Orange County, Arizona, and Washington, don't you expect the growth rate to accelerate? I do. And so that's what I expect. I expect the growth rate to accelerate as we expand and grow more territories and expand our reach. And that's why we're raising money to help us do that. So thank you for the question. Quick drink of water, guys, before I lose my voice. Number 4, for the proprietary technologies, does that also include AI, machine learning processes and services? Yes, we have several areas where we use some AI and machine learning. Machine learning definitely on our inventory. We have a predictive inventory algorithm. It does predictive purchasing based on a machine learning algorithm that has learned from historical patterns of purchasing. And you cannot believe, it's fascinating to look at, but day of week matters. There's more orders on Mondays and Fridays. Holidays matter. There's way more orders before and after holidays. Seasonality matters. There's way more orders in August and September before people start going back to school. There's flu season. Weather matters. I mean, there's a bunch of things that our machine learning has looked at and developed patterns for predictive ordering. So it's an exciting thing that we do. We also have some natural language processing and some AI on the way we communicate around refill authorizations, both with our patient communication and with our physicians. There's some automation there. We use some AI with the way we resolve errors with insurance adjudication. So there's a number of projects and a number of things built into our pharmacy. I would say the insurance adjudication is one of our real secret sauces. There's some really cool kind of technology, but it's a real, it's a full stack solution, and we're happy about all the features. And there's more to come too. We've got an image analytics and some AI that we're using to look at better ways to streamline the pharmacist verification. So we take images of bottles that get filled by the robotics, and by law, a pharmacist has to verify the medication that's in that bottle. But we're using image analytics, that's the idea anyway, to actually look at the pill size and color and the imprint number that's on each pill to do some decision support system for the pharmacist. So if you go to CVS and Walgreens, you'll see a pharmacist popping off a cap on a bottle, either looking inside or dumping a pill out, holding that pill up to a picture to see if the medication matches. So we're getting a little more advanced than that with some technology, guys, right? Let's use some image analytics. Don't have people counting up pills by hand. Use robots, use image analytics, help that pharmacist do verification in 3 seconds rather than 30 seconds, and have a more reliable, more dependable, more accurate result. Okay, there's a related question there. Do we use Google platform, Azure, AWS? All our technology is homegrown. There are some machine algorithms that are open source that we've taken advantage of. So there are some open source algorithms that we've deployed, but the way we've deployed it is proprietary. And I'm not sure that answers your question specifically, because there's some overlap there, right? Yeah, we take advantage of some open source stuff in AI and machine learning. Why wouldn't you? We wouldn't build that from scratch, at least the core engines, but the way we've deployed it and tailored it for pharmacy industry is unique, and we feel proprietary. Question number 5. How are we doing on time, guys? We've got plenty of time. I'll stay here past 12 if you can. We'll maybe try to run to 10 minutes past or something if we need to. Number 5, as CEO, what are some of the current or future challenges that you see that would slow down the growth of NowRx? Access to capital is always an issue for young startups that are trying to scale in rapid growth industries. So it's one of the risk factors I always like to mention. Pharmacy regulation could change. We've tried to kind of game theory that out. If the healthcare industry moved to, say, single payer, how's that going to affect pharmacy? I think there's still going to be pharmacy. All the pharmacy laws are set at the state level. You have to have a pharmacist look at the medication by law in every state. Pharmacist has to be licensed in that state. I don't see pharmacy going away, people. It's been very recession proof. I mean, you could list as a risk factor a global economic recession or a US recession. But pharmacy is really recession resistant. It has been historically. It's one of the most resistant industries there are. I mean, people don't stop taking their insulin just because there's a recession. So, really no challenge at this point. We have the technology built that's ready for scale, true enterprise scale. We're turning the crank on opening up new territories. We brought in the right financial team to build out the financial controls. We're bringing in Deloitte & Touche as an auditor. We're moving on to Microdynamics as our financial system. We're bringing in more operational support on fleet management and delivery management and dispatch. So, we're building the right team. There's some execution risk always, but I think we've proven a good track record on opening up new territories, scaling up new territories and new locations, and feel really good about turning the crank now over the next couple of years and expanding nationwide. Just to be clear, this is number 6 question. Just to be clear, should the company reach to IPO, would the conversion rate be 1-to-1? I was a little confused on the circular. Yeah, the shares you're purchasing that are being offered in the Series C on Seed Invest today have a 1-to-1 conversion rate to common stock if there's change in ownership. Full stop. New locations were announced. New locations were announced more than 3 months ago. What's the latest on opening of these locations? How long does it take? It takes about 3 to 6 months to go from new lease signed to licensed pharmacy, DEA certified, licensed fulfillment center, entered into insurance company networks, and then operational. All that's 3 to 6 months. Depends somewhat on the state you're talking about. Arizona moves a little faster than California. California's one of the slowest. Texas will move a lot quicker. So we are bringing those new locations operational as we speak within the next few weeks. So stay tuned for that. As soon as we get a location licensed and operational, we make an announcement. So those are coming. We can open up, multiple locations in parallel. So when we talk about expanding nationwide, we don't just open one at a time and wait 6 months. We open up 5 and 6 at a time and open up all of those in parallel. So you can start opening up. We're targeting 6 to 8 per quarter as we ramp up here, new facilities, and we can maintain that pace indefinitely. Question number 8, how have same-store sales been at your seasoned existing locations? The growth rate for the seasoned locations is running similar 15 to 20% quarter over quarter. Obviously, we're trying to accelerate that with the new locations that grow a little bit faster rate. And as we layer on more locations, that layers on growth overall. But yeah, we're seeing very strong same store sales across most territories. I mean, there's always some variability, particularly during the pandemic. Some of the locations during the pandemic, especially some of the newer facilities where we were launching during the pandemic, we couldn't get our reps in to see doctors, slowed down a little bit. Some of the territories, have various influences of big healthcare systems that are a little bit more difficult to penetrate from a physician rep perspective. But by and large, there's a fairly large consistent growth pattern across all our territories. And I think you can see that in our results top line. It's been, pharmacy is such a dense industry. It's pretty much the same, right? CVS and Walgreens operate in just about every market in the country. There's a reason for that, because pharmacy is pretty similar across territories. You go to a doctor, you get a medication, you go to the pharmacy. There's really no reason to believe that a pharmacy that offers free same-day delivery in 2 or 3 hours, that's trustworthy, reliable, dependable, and cuts down on a lot of the headaches and friction behind the scenes with communication and collaboration with your physician, with your insurance company, with your pharmacist, and better inventory management, better communication, all in. It's no real reason to believe that we can't get a 3 to 4%, 5% market share in every territory we go into. And that's the way we've modeled out growth of the business. And remember, every one of those 50 territories that we are targeting has up to $1 billion or more, not up to, $1 billion or more in all of those territories in addressable market. That's just a fact. That data is publicly available. That's how dense pharmacy is. There's enough prescriptions in the United States every year, 4 billion plus, for 11 prescriptions for every man, woman, and child in the country every year. That's how big pharmacy is. So $1 billion in addressable market in every territory. We're not too worried about the growth potential here at NowRx. Number 9, are you permitted to provide guidance or a revenue forecast for 23, 24, 25? No, we are, we're a regulated company. We're an SEC Reg A company. Just like Elon got in trouble for saying, hey, I'm going to take Tesla private at such and such amount. You can't project the future out under SEC guidelines. So we're not giving out future guidance for future years. What I will tell you is we are building out a model and have no reason to think that our historical growth won't continue into the future in terms of same store sales and new territory sales. And we are planning further growth and a more rapid expansion into new territories. So you can read into that how you want, barring continued access to capital, no regulatory dramatic changes, no economic disruptions that affect pharmacy. We would expect the growth to continue as historical into the future and probably even accelerate. That's what we believe. So I hope that's helpful. And you can read more about our thoughts on the business and our filings with the SEC. We are the most transparent company, private company that you've ever invested in. What do I mean by that? Unlike other private companies that aren't regulated under Regulation A and the SEC, you get very little information from those companies. We file twice a year a full 1K report at the end of the year and a what's called a 1SA at the 6-month mark. Full detailed audited financials. NowRx has audited financials for 5 years. We're filed that with the SEC with a management discussion and analysis, an MD&A section. And that's just simply the most transparent private company you've ever invested in. And so all that information is out there for public consumption. And you can read that anytime you want. And any changes in the business will continue to be reported to the SEC twice annually. Question number 10, how do you prevent being the world's best kept secret? How do you acquire customers and costs? We acquire customers in new territories by first establishing what we call our physician referral channel. 95% of our new customers come as a referral from physicians. I do not pay physicians a referral fee. Physicians have a lot of pain point for pharmacy. They get calls from their patients that have bad experiences at pharmacy. Either their insurance company didn't pay for the medication, or there was a disruption in the pharmacy from the doctor to the patient to the pharmacy. There were errors in the inconsistencies in the prescription itself that need to be resolved. There were delays in the physician authorization for the refill. There are a host of problems. A typical physician spends $55,000 a year on an employee on average. That employee does nothing but manage poor pharmacy experience for their patients. They get inbound calls from patients that are complaining about their pharmacy to their doctors. They have hard times with the pharma reps. So I don't need to pay physicians. When physicians refer patients to use NowRx and they send that prescription to NowRx, the doctor gets an immediate savings in labor costs, less hassle, less headache, fewer calls from physicians, from patients rather. And I'll give you one more financial benefit to the physician. If patients get their medication on time and have fewer poor patient health outcomes and fewer unavoidable hospitalizations by not taking their medications, right, which happens in the industry. It's about $300 billion every year is wasted by the insurance companies, Medicare and private insurance companies, on patients that end up in the hospital because they didn't get their medication. If you're a doctor and your patient health improves because that medication adherence is improved by patients using the NowRx system, right, better medication adherence, Medicare tells doctors, we will reimburse you more, doctor, for your reimbursements because your patient population has better health overall. And so we give you a higher star rating and you get better financial reimbursements. So why are they incentivized to refer patients to NowRx? Because it cuts down on the amount that they spend on their own labor, their own team, spending time with patients, wrestling with bad pharmacy experiences, and they get better financial reimbursements potentially from better patient adherence, better medication adherence, and they get better star ratings from Medicare. That's why physicians refer patients to NowRx. It costs me nothing other than the cost of a rep to go call on those doctors and get referrals, right? So that's our primary way of getting the word out. 95% of all of our customers have come through that channel. We have about 38,000 customers that have come through the physician referral channel. We know that model works. We know it's repeatable. We have replicated going into new territories, hiring physician reps, having them call on doctors, telling them about the NowRx service, and getting referrals going forward. Now, as we penetrate a market, we start to get name recognition. We start to get trust from physicians. We get brand recognition, and then we start to get word of mouth. Patients see our cars driving through the neighborhoods. They see our brochures in doctors' offices. They hear about their friends and family having great experiences with NowRx. The physicians continue to refer patients. The more the physician sees great experiences with NowRx, the more they refer patients, and all of that snowballs. And we continue to see growth in our territories from using physician reps in the physician referral channel, and also word of mouth and direct to consumer, those two channels. So that's been our model for growth for the last 5 years. That's going to be the model for growth going forward. And so, yeah, we don't want to be the world's best kept secret. The fundraising campaigns that we run also improve name recognition and raise PR and name brand awareness for us. Every one of our investors through Seed Invest, and we have 10,000 plus investors, is a NowRx evangelist, right? Every one of you. We have great support from our investors. We have them spread out all over the country, and they wave the NowRx flag and really drive more interest for our business, for more patient traffic and more growth. All right, guys, question number 11. I don't live in a market you serve, so I can't sign up and see pricing. Can you talk about NowRx, how we'll make money For example, what if someone has a cheap prescription like $5? Do you then charge for delivery? Look, pricing in pharmacy is 95% of the time run by the insurance company plans. Just like you wouldn't talk to a doctor and say, how much does this physical cost? I want to find the lowest cost doctor for my physical. No one really does that for most of pharmacy. Most of pharmacy is run by the insurance plans, and what patients pay is the copay. It's a healthcare business. Just like you go to a doctor, they charge you for a physical. I don't know how much they charge, probably $200, but what I pay is the $20 copay to the doctor. 95% of the time, I go to the pharmacy, I don't know what they pay or charge for that medication. The pharmacy tells me, here's my $20 copay. I know everyone wants to look at pharmacy like it's consumer product. It's not like that 95% of the time. Are there generic medications that are paid for with cash? Yes, there are. Does Mark Cuban have a business that focuses only on those generic medications? Yes, he does. And some of those medications are $4 and $5 and they don't go through insurance. That is absolutely true. That is not what we are marketing for. We are going after all of the business in pharmacy, just like CVS and Walgreens, and 95% of that, I'll use that statistic again, 95% of the $500 billion industry goes through insurance, and the price of 95% of the business is set by insurance, and it only ends up being your copay. Okay, so that's how pharmacy model works, guys. Now, how does NowRx make money? Has very little to do with the copay that the insurance, that the patient pays. The way we make money is we buy a drug from the wholesale market, just like any other pharmacy would. We buy a drug from, and we buy most of our medications from McKesson. We buy a drug for $80. We get a patient that comes in, the patient gives us their insurance card. The insurance company says, we're going to give you $90 for this patient. And they give that $90 right to NowRx. The insurance company gives us $90, comes to our bank account. The patient then gives us $10 copay. So I've got $100, 10 from the patient copay, 90 from the insurance company that comes right to my bank account on the, when I settle the claim, and I have to pay $80 for the medication. The difference between the $80 I paid for the medication and the $100 I received from insurance company plus copay, the difference between those two is $20. That's my gross margin. That $20 then, maybe that patient has more than one prescription. The average is 1.5 prescriptions per order. So every order is going to generate 1.5 times $20, about $30 of gross profit. And I have to pay for my pharmacist and my delivery, right? And my overhead. So that's how the business model works. We use a lot of automation to be super efficient in our micro fulfillment centers. Our delivery routes are focused on being very high dense, very rapid delivery, where we deliver 6, 8, 10 prescriptions per driver hour, right? So you got a $30 per hour driver cost for all in salary, benefits, all in cost of the vehicle is about $30 per driver hour. If I can deliver 8 to 10 prescriptions per driver hour, that's $3 to $4 per prescription for delivery. If I'm getting, $30 per order and I'm paying $3 or $4 per prescription, that's a model that works. You need to make the labor costs inside the pharmacy, which is why we use a lot of automation. You need to make that very efficient as well, which is why we have our quick fill system. So the model is built around high efficiency at volume. There is a scale play here. Our gross margin that we get from the industry is today a certain level. We expect it to get much better as we scale. Why will it get much better? Because we'll be buying more product from the wholesale market. And as we get more leverage from our higher volume purchases, we'll be able to buy that product. Instead of buying it for $80, we'll buy it for $75 or $72 or $70. We know CVS and Walgreens at scale get better pricing than we do. And so we are building a model that builds scale and gets to better cost of goods. All right, number 12, how are we doing on time? We're going past the hour. I'll hang here for about another 5 minutes. If we don't get to your questions, we'll put them on the forum, right? But come on, guys, get us to 20 million today. We can do it. Be the biggest crowdfunding round in history, breaking the last record, which was set by NowRx at just 20 million. So the second we get to 20 million and $1, we're setting a new record. And I think we'll get to 30 plus before this round is over. So definitely setting a new bar. Number 12, what was the Series B valuation? The Series B valuation was 65 million pre-money valuation. We raised 20 million, so the post-money was 85. The Series C pre-money valuation, the current round is 275 million pre-money. Again, that's effectively 10x of our forward-looking 12-month revenue set back in July 2021. We've now far exceeded that. The forward-looking 12-month now, at least the run rate based off of March is 2.7 million. You're looking at north of 30 million in a forward-looking 12 months, or an annualized run rate, 33 million. So definitely getting a good pre-money valuation on today's run rate, I would say. Question 13, how uniquely are you placed with patents and growth so that any competitor, I guess they're saying, will not be able to implement and scale up? Look, we've got 2 patents pending on our quick fill system. We've got several other areas that we think we can develop patents. We feel really good. We feel like we're 5 years ahead. You know, we spent a lot of time in the early years building our technology, working side by side with pharmacists and technicians, and looking at what those pharmacy management systems are trying to do, looking at how they interface with physician systems and insurance company systems and inventory management. And we really think we've built a strong technology platform that is 5 years ahead of the competition. So look, do patents hold up? Are our patents going to hold up? I don't know. I think we've got a good shot of getting these patents and having them do some work for us. But at the same time, I think we're so far ahead and refining the system all the time that I'm really not worried about someone replicating our software system. We really have something unique. By the way, there's a webinar recording out there. We can post it on Seed Invest if you ask me. That's focused entirely on our technology. I have our co-founder Sumit doing most of that webinar. We have that recording out there, and we can get it out there again. Number 14, I think we'll make this the last question, guys. When compared to existing competition like Alto Pharmacy and Medley, as they are expanding exponentially with hundreds of millions of institutional funding, how exponentially is NowRx expanding? Sure, some of our competitors have raised pretty eye-popping funding rounds. We've been growing at the pace that we are pretty excited about. Everyone would love to grow more, but in pharmacy, you've really got to make sure you manage that SLA. Alto and Medley are focused more on specialty. Their revenue is not quite apples to apples because they're selling drugs that are like fertility medications that are $70,000 per dose, $70,000 per dose. Hepatitis, there's a hepatitis C medication that's $80,000. Remember, I talked in the beginning, there are specialty pharmacies that are a niche part of the industry. It's a good market. I mean, it's a good $50 billion market, but we are going after what CVS and Walgreens are offering, a full breadth of medications for mainstream pharmacy users. And so, you can't compare their revenues to ours. You can compare their revenue to companies like Diplomat and Accredo, compare our revenues and our growth to things like CVS and Walgreens. That's what we're going after. And we're growing pretty healthily right now. Do we plan to raise more capital so we can grow even more rapidly as we scale? Yes. This won't be our last funding round. We are planning, we brought in a CFO who is experienced in raising large private equity rounds and getting companies to IPO. We have some plans underway that we will be raising in all likelihood raising future capital rounds, larger capital rounds. We'll see where that ends up, but sure, we want to scale rapidly. We're shareholders too in the business, so we want to create shareholder wealth, and we know growing companies and building a path towards profitability is a big part of that. So yes, we are perfectly aligned in that regard. Thank you for the question. Look, that's I think that's the end of today. I'm starting to lose my voice. So really appreciate everyone's time. We'll take any of the questions that we didn't get to and post them out on the Seed Invest forum. Go to the comments forum at seedinvest.com. I'm pretty active out there every couple of days, and we'll get out there and respond. We'll be planning more webinars. Check for that announcement. We are going to be offering what we call office hours, where I'll be out here every day during the last week of the campaign, answering some last minute questions that anybody has. Thank you for your interest in NowRx. Really enjoyed the excitement, and I think we're gonna have a great closing over the next 3 or 4 weeks, and world record round. And I think being part of that should be really exciting as an investor, being part of the company that set the bar for the largest round in history for Seed Invest. So thank you very much, guys. Looking at 20 million today. Take care. Thank you. Bye.